She backed away in fear. The human said, "He won't bite." The words hung in the air, soft but firm, as if they carried more meaning than they seemed to. Laura froze, her hands clutching the edge of her crystal stall. Her heart beat fast. She had seen humans before, but never so close. Never with one of their strange creatures. The marketplace of Viren was loud and busy vendors calling out prices. Engines humming from hovering carts. The scent of spices and metals mixing in. The hot air. But now, all that noise seemed far away. All she could hear was the slow sound of the human steps as he walked toward her, the beast moving beside him like a shadow. The creature was large, its muscles shifting smoothly under thick fur, golden eyes steady and watchful. It was nothing like the gentle animals of her homeworld. This one looked as if it could outrun and overpower anything that threatened it. Laura's feet shuffled back without her thinking. She hadn't meant to be afraid, not of him, but fear wasn't new to her. She had been feeling it for weeks now, Dot. It had started when Joran left. Joran was her closest friend, another merchant who sold mechanical parts across the market street from her. They had spent years sharing lunches, trading small gifts, and talking about dreams neither of them believed they'd reach. Then, without much warning, Joran had taken a contract off-world, traveling to the far colonies. He had promised to write. He had promised to visit. But the days had stretched into months. The silence between them had grown like a shadow she couldn't step out of. She missed him. She didn't know how to tell him that. She didn't even know if he would want to hear it. The human's voice broke her thoughts. "You okay?" She blinked. Yes, I'm fine." The human nodded. "Good. Hero's harmless." He patted. "A beast's neck. Unless you give him a reason not to be." Laura's throat felt dry. She nodded quickly, not trusting her voice. The human glanced at the crystals on display. "These yours?" "Yes," she said quietly. "They're beautiful." His tone was genuine, not just polite. "I've been looking for something like this. It's for my ship's Navarre. Heard Viren crystals last longer than any other." Laura hesitated. She wasn't sure if she wanted to sell him anything. Her fear made her unsure, but business was business. "You can. Look, if you like." The human crouched to see the crystals better, and the creature sat beside him, perfectly still. It didn't growl. It didn't bare its teeth. It just watched her, almost like it understood something she didn't. For a strange moment, Laura thought of Joran again. He had once told her, "Fear is like a locked door. Sometimes it's there to protect you. Sometimes you have to try the handle just to see if it's really locked." She hadn't tried that door in months. Dot. The human picked up a crystal, holding it to the light. "How much?" She told him the price. He didn't argue. Instead, he offered something unusual, a small piece of alloy, shining silver with a faint blue sheen. "Trade? This is human forged. Stronger than most metals you'll find here." She took it, surprised by its weight. It felt solid, dependable. "Deal." He smiled, handing her the payment and slipping the crystal into a pouch. Then he gave the beast a short command in a language she didn't know. It rose to its feet without a sound. The human started to leave, but then paused. "By the way, you ever feel like someone you care about is too far away? Like you want to reach out, but you don't know how?" Laura froze. The question was too close to her own thoughts. "Yes," she admitted softly. He nodded. "You should try anyway. Sometimes that door isn't as locked as you think." Before she could answer, he was already walking away, Kiro padding beside him through the crowd. For the rest of the day, her mind kept circling back to his words. She thought about Joran, his laugh, his way of turning every problem into a puzzle he could solve. She thought about how she had been waiting for him to reach out first. Maybe she didn't need to wait. That evening, when the sun turned the marketplace gold and the vendors began packing up, she found herself pulling out her old device. It had been months since she last sent him anything. Her hands trembled, but she opened a message. Joran, I hope you're well. I miss our talks. The market feels empty without you. I'd like to hear from you if you can. She read it twice before sending it. The moment it was gone, she felt lighter. The next day, she didn't expect an answer so soon. But as she was arranging her crystals, her device pinged. Lura, I was hoping you'd write. I've been meaning to contact you, but the days kept slipping away. I miss you too. Tell me everything. What's been happening in the market? Her chest felt warm, almost as if the sun had settled inside her. She began typing a long reply, smiling for the first time in weeks. Later that afternoon, she saw the human again. He passed by her stall, Kiro at his side. This time, she didn't step back. She backed away in fear. The human said with a playful grin, echoing yesterday's moment. But I told you, he won't bite. And this time, she smiled back. The next few days in the marketplace felt different for Lura. She still missed Joran, but the weight wasn't quite as heavy now. The message she'd sent had opened something inside her. It wasn't that all the sadness was gone. It was that she finally believed it could change. Every evening, she and Joran exchanged short messages. He told her about the distant colony, world where he was working, about the strange blue storms that rolled across its plains, and about the small group of traders he had joined. She told him about the market, the slow days, the funny arguments between vendors, and the human she had met. When she mentioned the human, Joran's reply came quickly. Be careful, Lura. You know the stories about Deathworlders. Their animals are worse. Some of them are bred for war. She had heard those stories all her life tales, told by travelers and repeated in hushed voices. Humans came from a world where nearly everything could kill you. The plants, the air, even the water in some places. To survive there, they had to become strong, adaptable, and frighteningly clever. But the human she had met didn't match those stories. He was calm. He had helped her when he didn't have to. And Kiro the beast hadn't harmed her. Still, doubt began to creep in. Maybe she had been lucky. Maybe the stories were true. After all. 2 days later, she saw him again. He was buying food from a vendor across the street. People stepped aside to give him space, pretending it was polite, but Lura could see the unease in their movements. Almost didn't call out. Almost, hey, she said finally. When he turned her way, he smiled faintly and walked over, Kiro padding silently beside him. How's business? Slow, she admitted. But I got a message from my friend. The one I told you about? His eyes softened. That's good. What did he say? That he misses me too. She hesitated. He also warned me about you, about Deathworlders. The human didn't look surprised. He's not wrong. We are dangerous. But so is everyone in the right circumstances. He glanced down at Kiro, who sat patiently. Difference is, we choose when to be. Lura studied him for a moment. Do the stories bother you? He shrugged. Only when they stop someone from finding out who we really are. Before she could answer, a loud crash echoed from the far end of the marketplace. People turned. A cart had tipped over, spilling metal crates across the walkway. A small child, one of the insectoid vendor's younglings, was caught between the crates and the edge of the platform. The gap beyond dropped several stories down into the city's lower levels. The crowd froze. The crates were heavy, and the walkway near the edge was weak. One wrong move and it could collapse. The human didn't hesitate. He passed Lura without a word. Kiro closed behind. In 3 quick steps, he was at the edge. He crouched low, checking the child's position. Then, moving with slow precision, he lifted the crates one by one, setting them aside. The walkway groaned, but he shifted his weight to keep it balanced. Kiro stayed at the edge, almost as if guarding the space. Finally, the human reached for the child, speaking in a calm voice. The little one stopped shaking and let him lift them out. He carried the child back to the safety of the crowd, setting them gently in their parents' arms. No one spoke. They just stared. The insectoid parent thanked him over and over, but he only nodded. They're fine, just scared. He glanced back at Lura. There was no pride in his expression. No expectation of praise, just a quiet certainty, as if helping had been the only possible choice. When he walked away, the crowd slowly returned to normal, though the whispers followed him. Some spoke with fear, others with a new kind of respect. That night, Lura told Joran what had happened. He saved a child today, she wrote. No hesitation. I think maybe the galaxy is wrong about humans. Joran's reply took a while, but when it came, it surprised her. Maybe. Or maybe you're just seeing the ones worth knowing. The words stayed in her mind long after she put her come away. The next morning, she spotted the human again. This time, she stepped forward before he could pass. Thank you, she said. He tilted his head. For what? For helping the child, and for reminding me that maybe I should try the handle on that door again. He smiled. Good, sometimes. It's not locked at all. As he walked away, she realized she didn't feel the same sharp fear anymore. The stories still whispered in the back of her mind, but they were quieter now, fading under the sound of her own thoughts. And in that quiet, something else had taken root. The market was quieter than usual the next morning. A pale mist had rolled in from the sea, wrapping the streets in a thin veil. The vendors moved slower, voices softer, as if the fog had stolen some of their energy. Lura sat at her stall, arranging crystals into neat rows, but her mind was elsewhere. Joran's last message had been short, almost hurried. I'll write soon. Busy here? Take care. She read it again and again, trying to decide if it meant something was wrong or if he was just tired. The distance between them felt wide again, like the fog between buildings blurring everything, making it hard to see. She wanted to ask him more, to tell him she was worried. But every time she opened her comb, she closed it again. What if she was bothering him? What if he didn't want to talk? As she was lost in thought, she heard a familiar voice. Morning. She looked up. The human stood there, Kiro at his side. The mist made his figure seem larger, almost a shadow, until he stepped closer. Morning, she said quietly. Business slow? She nodded. People don't shop much when it's this damp. He crouched down to look at the crystals. I've been meaning to thank you, he said. She blinked. For what? For treating me like I belong here. His eyes flicked toward a nearby vendor, who quickly turned away. Not everyone does. She didn't know what to say. You saved a child. You do belong. He smiled faintly. Maybe, but that's not how most people think. Fear sticks. They were quiet for a moment. Then, as if sensing her thoughts, he asked, Your friend? The one far away? Still writing? Not much, she admitted. I don't know how to talk to him anymore. Why not? Because I don't know what he's feeling. I don't want to push. The human thought for a moment. You know, sometimes people don't write because they're waiting for the right words. But there's no right words, just the ones you have. She tilted her head. That's easy for you to say. Not really, he said, smiling. I've been far from people I cared about. Sometimes for years. You send a message anyway, even if it just says, I'm still here. It matters more than you think. His words stayed with her, even after he walked away. By midday, The fog had lifted a little. She saw him again at a food stall, trading a strip of dried meat for a bag of spiced bread. Kiro waited patiently beside him. Then something unusual happened. A group of travelers entered the market four tall, sharp-faced aliens dressed in fine cloaks. They moved like people who thought the world owed them respect. One of them stopped at Lura's stall, picking up a crystal without asking. "How much?" he demanded. She gave the price, but he laughed. "Too much. I'll take 2 for half." "That's not." He leaned closer. "You'll sell for my price, or you'll regret it." Her throat tightened. She glanced around for help, but the nearby vendors kept their heads down. Then a voice spoke from behind her. She said the price. The traveler turned. The human stood a few steps away, Kiro sitting beside him. Golden eyes locked on the stranger. The traveler's smirk faded. "This isn't your business, human." "It is," the human said evenly, "when someone tries to take what isn't theirs." A long silence followed. The traveler's gaze flicked between the human and Kiro. Then he dropped the crystal onto the table. "Not worth it," he muttered, walking away with the others. Lura let out a slow breath. "Thank you," she said softly. The human just nodded. People like that count on no one speaking up. Don't make it easy for them. She thought about his words the rest of the day. He didn't try to control her or tell her what to do. He just reminded her she could stand up for herself. That evening, she sat in her small apartment, staring at her comb. For once, she didn't close it. "JORN," she typed. "I don't know what's going on there, but I want you to know I'm still here. I'll always be your friend, even if you're far away." She hesitated, then hit send. This time, she didn't feel nervous. She felt steady. The reply came hours later, just before she went to sleep. "Lura, thank you. I've been having a hard time here. It's good to know someone's thinking of me. I'll write more tomorrow." She smiled in the dark. The fog between them didn't feel so thick anymore. And somewhere in the marketplace, she knew, a human and his strange, loyal creature were walking. Through the mist, making the shadows just a little less frightening. The marketplace of Viren had its usual noise again. The fog was gone, replaced by warm sunlight that made the crystal displays sparkle. Lura felt lighter than she had in months. Joran had sent her 3 messages in as many days, each one longer than the last. He told her about the work he was doing repairing broken colony equipment, about the strange birds that sang at night, and about the friends he'd made. But he also told her the truth. He was tired, sometimes lonely, and sometimes he wondered if he had made the right choice leaving home. She wrote back honestly, too. She told him about the quiet days at the market, about how the human and his creature had helped her twice now, and about how she was trying to be braver. Joran's last message had said, "I'm glad you have someone there looking out for you. Just be careful, Lura. The galaxy is full of people who want to take what's easy to steal." His warning came back to her mind when she noticed something strange that day. 3 figures stood at the far edge of the market. They weren't shopping. They weren't talking. They were just watching. Every time she glanced up, their eyes were on her stall. She tried to ignore it, focusing on her customers. But as the sun lowered and vendors began to pack up, the 3 moved closer. Her stomach tightened. Then a shadow fell across her stall. "Everything all right?" She looked up in relief. The human was there, Kiro beside him. "I think someone's watching me," she admitted in a low voice. His eyes swept the crowd once. "Don't pack up alone tonight," he said quietly. "I'll walk with you." They waited until the market emptied. The 3 watchers were still there. As Lura finished loading her goods into a cart, the figures finally moved toward her. The human stepped forward, placing himself between them and her. "This your business?" one of them asked, voice rough. "It is now," the human replied evenly. One of the others smirked. We're just here to offer a trade. I don't think she's interested. The smirk faded. Move. No, the human said simply. The first one reached inside his coat, but Kiro's low growl froze him in place. It wasn't loud, but it was deep like thunder just over the horizon. The golden eyes locked onto the man's movements, unblinking. You really want to test him? The human asked quietly. A long silence. Then the three turned and left, melting into the shadows between buildings. Lura let out a shaky breath. You didn't even touch them. Didn't have to, he said, his voice calm. Most people only need to believe they've already lost to walk away. They finished the walk to her small apartment building without speaking much. But before he left, the human said, if they come back, don't face them alone. Call me. That night, Lura told Joran what had happened. I was scared, she admitted in the message. But I didn't freeze this time. I knew I wasn't alone. His reply came almost instantly. Lura, I wish I was there. But I'm glad you had someone. Maybe you're braver than you think. Her hands lingered over the keys. Maybe, she wrote back. But I think sometimes bravery is knowing who to stand beside. The next morning, she found the human already in the marketplace, speaking to a few other vendors. Word had spread about the night before, and for the first time, some of the others actually thanked him instead of avoiding him. He didn't seem to care much for the attention, but she noticed the way his shoulders relaxed slightly. Maybe he wasn't as untouched by fear and loneliness as he seemed, and for the first time, Laura wondered if he too had someone far away that he missed, someone he wanted to reconnect with, but didn't know how. The next few days passed without trouble, but Laura stayed alert. She kept seeing shadows in the corners of the market shapes that might have been strangers just passing through, or might have been the same watchers from before. Joran kept writing. His messages were warmer now, more like their old talks. He told her about the strange food he'd tried, about a machine he'd repaired against all odds, and even about the time a sandstorm trapped him indoors for a full day. But under all his words, Lura sensed something else, a heaviness he didn't quite name. She wanted to ask him what was wrong, but she didn't know how without making it sound like she was prying. One afternoon, as she was closing her stall, the human appeared again. Kiro trotted beside him, tail swaying in a slow rhythm. Quiet day? He asked. She said. No trouble. That's good, he replied. Trouble likes to wait until you're relaxed. She smiled faintly. You sound like you've lived through a lot of trouble. He didn't deny it. Enough to know it changes you. But not all change is bad. They walked together toward her building. Halfway there, she found herself asking, do you ever miss someone who's far away? He glanced at her. Every day. Do you talk to them? Not as much as I should. He smiled a little. It's easier to fight a battle than to open up sometimes. That made her think of Joran. Maybe distance wasn't just about space. Maybe it was about what people carried inside them. When they reached her building, Kiro suddenly stopped. His ears twitched. The human's posture shifted, instantly alert, ready. Two figures stepped out from the shadows ahead. Lura recognized. One of them from the group that had threatened her before. We warned you, the man said, his voice low. Now it's going to cost more than crystals. The human moved slightly, placing himself between them and Lura. I told you before, walk away. The man laughed, but it was sharp and humorless. You think your animal scares me? Kiro growled, not loud, but enough to freeze the man's next step. The sound was steady, controlled, like a promise. The other figure muttered something in their own language, and the two turned away, disappearing into the street. They'll be back, the human said quietly. Lura swallowed. Then what do? We do? He looked at her for a long moment. We make sure you're not easy to find alone. From that day on, whenever she closed her stall, the human or Kiro or both were nearby. At first, it felt strange to have that kind of protection. But slowly, she began to feel something she hadn't in a long time. Safe. One evening, as they walked, she told him about Joran, about the distance between them, about not knowing how to close it. "You've already started," he said. She frowned. "What do you mean?" "You reached out." "That's more than most people do?" She thought about that as she climbed the steps to her apartment. Maybe it was true. Maybe the hardest part wasn't closing the distance. It was deciding to take the first step. That night, she wrote to Joran again. "I've been thinking about you a lot. I know you're busy, but I hope you know I'm always here if you need someone, no matter the distance." The reply came faster than she expected. "Laura, I think I do need someone. I haven't told anyone here, but it's been hard. Some days I feel like I'm not strong enough, but hearing from you, it helps more than you know." She stared at the words for a long time, her chest tight but warm. She typed back slowly, "And I'll keep writing. You don't have to be strong all the time. Let someone else be strong for you sometimes." The next day, she told the human about Joran's message. "Sounds like you're doing for him what you think you can't," he said. "What do you mean?" "You think you don't know how to reconnect, but you're already doing it." For the first time, she believed him. The next week, the marketplace felt different. The sun still shone on the colorful stalls, and the air still smelled of spice and metal, but there was a tension underneath. Vendors spoke in lower voices. Strangers seemed to linger just a little too long before moving on. Laura noticed it, and so did the human. He didn't say much about it, but she could tell his eyes kept scanning the crowd, Kiro staying closer to her side than before. That morning, she got a message from Joran. "Laura, things here are getting harder. I don't know if I can keep this job much longer. Sometimes I wonder if I should just come back." She stared at the words, her heart pulling in two directions. She wanted him back, but she didn't want him to feel like he was running away from his own path. She typed slowly, "I'd be happy if you came back, but I think you should choose what makes you feel alive, not just safe." She sent it before she could second-guess herself. By midday, the human came to her stall. "I need to talk to you," he said quietly. She frowned. "What's wrong?" "I think the group from before isn't just after your crystals. They've been targeting other traders too. Small thefts at first, but now one vendor's been beaten." Her stomach tightened. "Why?" "Control. They want people afraid enough to pay them for protection." Laura swallowed. "And you think I'm on their list?" He didn't answer directly. "I think they'll try again soon." That afternoon, she decided to close early. The human walked with her toward the spaceport district, where she needed to deliver a small order. Kiro trotted beside them, calm but alert. Halfway there, she felt it a shift in the air, like the street had gone too quiet. The sound of footsteps followed. "Stay close," the human murmured. 3 figures stepped out from an alley ahead, blocking the way. 2 more appeared behind them. "Well," one of them said, "you've been hard to catch alone." "She's not alone," the human replied. His voice was calm, but there was a steel edge to it. The leader smirked. "We're not here for her. We're here for you, human. Always sticking your nose where it doesn't belong." "Funny," the human said. "I thought protecting people was everyone's business." Kiro gave a low growl, stepping slightly forward. The sound made 2 of the men flinch. "Last chance," the human said. "Walk away." Instead, they moved forward. It all happened quickly, too quickly for Laura to fully follow. One of the men lunged, but the human sidestepped, catching his arm and sending him sprawling. Kiro blocked another, teeth bared but never touching flesh, just forcing him back with sheer presence. The others hesitated, realizing they were already outmatched. This isn't over. The leader spat before retreating into the shadows. They were gone. Lura's hands were shaking, but not from fear, at least not entirely. You didn't hurt them, she said. Didn't need to, he replied. The goal isn't to win the fight. It's to make them decide they don't want to try again. They continued to the spaceport, but the moment stayed with her. She realized something. The human didn't protect people because it was easy. He did it because it was the right thing to do, even when it was risky. That night, she told Joran everything. I think I'm learning that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right anyway. His reply came not long after. I think you're right. And maybe. I need that kind of courage too. The next day, he sent another message. I made a decision. I'm coming back. Not because I'm running from here, but because I want to be where I'm needed. And I think that's back home. Lura read it 3 times, hardly believing it. The distance between them, both in space and in her heart, suddenly felt smaller than it had in months. She looked up from the message to see the human passing by her stall. Kiro at his side. Without thinking, she called out, He's coming. Back. The human paused, a faint smile touching his lips. Told you the door wasn't locked.